All right, maybe I got me a thing that looks like f equals some huge gross ass function. It's terrible, people. We want to look at that and we want to shave our eyebrows because that makes sense. So that's cool and all, but this problem is going to turn out to be easy. And in fact, this may or may not remind you of an extra credit problem on a previous test. If it doesn't, that's cool. Maybe you're not even in my class. Ha! What are the odds? All right, so dudes, here's the thing. Find the average value of f prime between these 2 points. As always, let's just go ahead and write out the stuff. The answer is going to be 1 over 6 minus 1, integral from 1 to 6 of, now not f, dude, so I'm not even going to write in the equation. The thing that I'm putting in the integral is f prime, because that's the thing I'm supposed to find the average value of. All right, now here's the thing, hedgehogs. If I'm trying to find the integral of f prime, I could take the derivative of this big long gross thing and then just take the integral again. But that would be dumb because derivatives and integrals cancel each other out. So this is 1 over 6 minus 1 is 5. The integral of f prime is just the function f of x. That's because the integral and the derivative cancel out. But I still have to evaluate it from 1 to 6. So let's do that and see what happens, yo. This is just going to be 1 over 5 times parentheses f of 6 minus f of 1, because that's how integrals work. Look it up. And now, if I'm trying to figure those out, let's just go back up and look at that huge gross function and see what happens when I plug in 6 and 1. So let's look at this guy right here. Dudes, if I plug in 6, then this term here goes away and becomes 0. And this term here also goes away and becomes 0, because when you plug in 6, you just get zeros. So the only thing that actually makes any sort of difference is this puppy right here. And if you plug in 6 there, 6 minus 1 is 5. 5. All right, let's go back up and do the exact same thing using the value 1. Let me get rid of this because it doesn't apply anymore. All right, now dudes, I'm plugging in x equals 1. When I do that, this guy becomes 0. And for the same reason, all of that becomes 0. So when I plug in 1, what I get is 1 minus 6, which is negative 5. So dudes, this is what you should get, and look how freaking easy that is. Much easier than you probably suspected when you first look at that big gross equation. So this is equal to 1 over 5. Over here, 5 minus negative 5 is 5 plus 5, which is 10. And your final answer ends up being 2. No big deal. And the primary thing you needed to remember there is that you just write out the integral before you even start thinking too hard about what the problem is. You should always just write out the integral and see what it looks like. And then when you have the integral of the derivative, you can just say that the integral and the derivative cancel out, and it's all nice and pretty and stuff. All right, dudes, last one, I promise. Let's look at this guy. F of x equals 2x has an average value of 8 between 2 and what other x value? So dude, this one's a little bit different because it's not saying find the average value. It's saying I am already telling you what the average value is. Look how generous I am. I'm a regular person who is generous, who is also regularly generous. And so let's write out the integral as we always do, but instead of saying answer equals, we already know the answer. The answer is 8. So we're going to write 8 equals this. Oh, and dudes, we need a name for this other x value, because we don't know what the number is. So let's just call it like, I don't know, let's call it capital X. How about that? Does that sound good? I like that. So here's what we're going to get. 1 over capital X minus 2, because dudes, these are the two x values that we're going between. So we're going between this x value and this x value, and that's why it's 1 over capital X minus 2. This is just me plugging our two x values, one of which is just a variable, into the formula for average value. Same idea, I'm going to do the integral from 2 to x of the function 2x dx. Maybe I shouldn't call this capital X, we've got too many x's floating around. Let's call this y. I'm creative. Okay, so y, it's a y, but it's an x value. Okay, who cares? You get the idea. So this is the setup, dudes, just by plugging in the information from the problem into the formula for average value. All right, now once we got that, let's see what happens. 8 equals 1 over y minus 2. Now, dudes, when we take the integral of 2x, that's actually something we can find the antiderivative of. The integral of 2x is just the function x squared, and now we need to evaluate that from 2 to y. So when we do that, here's what happens. We still get 1 over y minus 2. Now what we do is we multiply that by, we're going to plug in y into that x squared function. So we're going to get y squared. Then we minus, and then we plug in 2, and so what we end up minusing is 4. All right, so let's rewrite that like this. 8 equals y squared minus 4 over y minus 2. All right, dudes, let's go ahead and take a breather, go back and recap where we're at now. Here's how we got here. We took this word problem thing, and the word problem gave us the value for the average value, but said that one of the bounds was unknown. So we went not from 2 to 7 or whatever, instead we went from 2 to y, because we just had to use a variable name for that other x value we didn't know. So we wrote out this equation just using the formula and the stuff from our problem. Then we simplified that by taking the antiderivative of 2x, which is x squared, plugged in our bounds, which were y and 2, and we got this business here, and then we simplified. Now we haven't found the answer yet, but we're very close. So once you have 8 equals this fraction, dudes, you can actually simplify this fraction. On top, you can factor that as y plus 2, y minus 2. All of that divided by y minus 2, but then dudes, your y minus 2's cancel. How about that? And in the end, you get 8 equals y plus 2, subtract 2 on both sides, and you get y equals 6. So dudes, the whole point there is that we have answered the question, the answer is 6, and the reason why the answer is 6 is because the integral, oh wait, let's do this, 1 over 6 minus 2, the integral from 2 to 6 of 2x dx, that integral is equal to 8. We knew ahead of time the integral should be equal to 8, we just didn't know what this extra value 6 was going to be. Now we do know, it turns out it's 6. All right, dudes, hope that makes the good sense. That's it. I'm outsies.